The problem with that kind of stuff is it continues to go in the same direction where more and more things become forbidden and toxic, to the point where, the Elon Musk joking around about my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Jimmy Kimmel made a tweet back to him. He said, your pronouns are ass and hole, which is pretty funny. But then,
Did he really?
Yes. And so then I read that, and there was people saying, please don't joke about pronouns. It's transphobic to joke about pronouns. So they were chiding him. Nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model, and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy.
During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan podcast, the comedian and UFC color commentator unleashed a scathing critique of Jimmy Kimmel over what he described as yet another outburst of Trump derangement syndrome. Even before Donald Trump entered the White House, Kimmel had been relentlessly critical, and now, as Trump continues to dominate headlines, the late-night host has intensified his ongoing barrage. Tired of the endless slander, Rogan didn't hold back, delivering a no-nonsense takedown that made his stance unmistakably clear. If you appreciate bold, unfiltered political commentary, be sure to hit that subscribe button and let's dive in.
He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble.
Uh-huh.
He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, and I think also, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had apologized for them, and I think he took that hit and, really doubled down the other direction.
This dates back to 2020, but the internet has a long memory, and so does Joe Rogan. On his podcast, Rogan wasted no time calling out Jimmy Kimmel's past controversies, pulling skeletons straight out of the late-night host's closet to challenge any claim he has to moral superiority when criticizing Trump. He reminded listeners of Kimmel's past skits in which he impersonated figures like Snoop Dogg and Oprah Winfrey in racially insensitive performances, which at the time triggered major backlash from the black community.
Do you know who's going to be hosting the Academy Awards this year? Jimmy Kimmel. Do you know who's worn blackface repeatedly and spoken inner city sort of urban accent saying she needs to darn those socks? Jimmy Kimmel as Oprah, as a fat-suited, black-faced, darning socks Oprah. Now, if you are of the left, that's fine. If you are of the right and happen to just say, hey, people used to wear blackface and nobody freaked out about it, you get fired.
Yet this is the same person trying to pose as the nation's moral authority. Joe Rogan wasn't buying it, and he definitely wasn't holding back. He tore into Kimmel with ruthless precision, unleashing harsh truths and sharp critiques that stripped away the facade. Rogan called out Kimmel's hypocrisy, his staged outrage, and the way he disguises political bias as comedy. This wasn't just a casual critique, it was a full-on dismantling. Rogan painted Kimmel as a tool for the elite, not the voice of the average American.
There's not a chance in hell that this is funny or going to work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. So a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs, and then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explain to the people. Yeah. Okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice this right.
Joe Rogan didn't hold back when he took aim at Jimmy Kimmel, tearing into the manufactured nature of Kimmel's late-night show and revealing just how scripted and staged it really is. While Kimmel leans on a team of writers and a teleprompter to deliver carefully curated punchlines that align with a specific political narrative, Rogan highlighted how disconnected that is from authenticity. In contrast, Rogan's podcasts are raw, unscripted, and come straight from the heart. No writers, no safety net, just honest conversation. That, he argued, is the difference between being a corporate mouthpiece and a genuine thinker. Rogan doesn't need a script to speak his truth, and that's why audiences trust him more than the polished, predictable world of late-night TV.
I struggle to even mention that guy's name. He's such an absolute I can't stand him. But anyway, it's just my thought bubble out loud. We took a look at some of their reactions to the news of Trump's win. Look at this.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate. It was a terrible night for poor people, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO.
You know how much it costs to produce Jimmy Kimmel's show? I guarantee you it's tens and tens of millions. It could be as much as 100 million. I have no idea. You know how much Tucker's video cost? Nothing. You know how much Jimmy Kimmel, how many people he gets tuning in on an average night? Just last week, his average was, in the overall, meaning all viewers, 1.5 million. In the key demo, 236,000. Tucker would have been embarrassed to pull that on any night he was on the Fox News channel.
When Jimmy Kimmel realized his relentless efforts to prevent Trump's re-election had flopped, he had one of the most cringeworthy breakdowns on live television. With a somber expression, he claimed it was a tragic day for the poor, immigrants, and marginalized communities. But let's be real, what he was actually mourning was a major setback for the woke narrative he's been championing for years. Those tears weren't about justice. They were about losing control of a carefully crafted storyline. That night, the ideology he pushed took a serious hit, and Kimmel simply couldn't cope. Fed up with the performance, Joe Rogan stepped in to call it all out.
Problem with that kind of stuff is it continues to go in the same direction where more and more things become forbidden and toxic, to the point where, you know, the Elon Musk joking around about my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Jimmy Kimmel made a tweet back to him. He said, your pronouns are ass and hole, which is pretty funny. But then,
Did he really?
Yes. And so then I read that, and there was people saying, please don't joke about pronouns. It's transphobic to joke about pronouns. So they were chiding him.
This was a textbook example of virtue signaling gone completely sideways. In a clumsy effort to gain favor with the trans community, Jimmy Kimmel took a low-blow jab at Elon Musk, mocking his appearance in what he clearly assumed would earn him woke approval. But the irony? The very group he was pandering to saw straight through the performance and called him out. The joke was slammed as transphobic, tone-deaf, and outright offensive. Instead of praise, Kimmel was met with a wave of criticism. His bid to play the moral savior exploded in his face, and Joe Rogan made sure the hypocrisy didn't go unchecked.
Weak and pathetic is a guy like that. The Tonight Show, which is dying. They're all dying. Where's Johnny Carson? Bring back Johnny. It made you appreciate, right, Uncle Sam? It made you appreciate the greatness of Johnny Carson. I go on his show, and he goes, is that your real hair? I said, yeah. He said, do you mind if I mess it up? So he grabs it, and he starts really going crazy, right? And everybody laughed, and it was a big thing. It was a big hit. It was all over the place, and he got great ratings and all. And 6 months later, he went out because he was under pressure to apologize because he humanized.
Trump had long foreseen the decline of both Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert's shows. And now, that prediction is unfolding before our eyes. Colbert was recently dropped from CNN after dismal ratings, while Kimmel's show is barely staying afloat. Trump never forgot how Kimmel initially used him to boost his fading show, only to turn against him once it became convenient for his Hollywood backers. It was never about standing for something. It was always about securing a paycheck. Trump saw through the charade from the beginning, recognizing Kimmel as a hypocritical mouthpiece for the elite, chasing applause and approval over authenticity.
Last night was the 96th Academy Awards show, and while you might have missed it, there was one clear winner. No, not Oppenheimer. It was sanctimonious leftists for their lead role in pretending they are better than you. Several people shared in this achievement. Winner number one, Jimmy Kimmel. For the fourth time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore blackface so many times.
Meghan didn't hold back as she tore into Jimmy Kimmel and the left-wing elites, slamming them for their blatant hypocrisy and their growing contempt for traditional American values. She highlighted a glaring double standard that's become impossible to ignore. In a nation as racially and culturally diverse as the US, respect should apply to everyone equally. But somehow, that principle only seems to extend to those on the left. Conservatives who say anything remotely controversial are instantly vilified, cancelled, and publicly shamed. Yet when someone on the left mocks, disrespects, or insults a minority group, it's quickly excused as comedy or misinterpretation. Meghan called it out for what it is: selective outrage engineered to protect the ideological elite and suppress anyone who questions their agenda. It's not about fairness or equality, it's about maintaining control. And Meghan made it clear she wasn't going to stay silent while they got away with it.
Nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy.
It's not that creativity has vanished, it's that late night hosts have strayed from their original purpose. Rather than focusing on making people laugh, they've gone all in on woke politics and performative virtue signaling. What once made late-night television special was its ability to help viewers unwind, disconnect, and end the day with a bit of humor. It was about joy, relatability, and offering a comedic escape. But that charm has all but disappeared. Most shows have abandoned comedy in favor of pushing leftist talking points, transforming monologues into moral sermons, and turning interviews into political strategy sessions. Audiences are no longer invited to laugh, they're expected to applaud on cue. The fun has been replaced with lectures, and the relatability with self-righteousness. What was once a cultural staple has become a partisan echo chamber. And as a result, viewers are switching off. Not because they've stopped caring, but because they're exhausted from being preached at instead of entertained.
That's him or a writer, can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host The Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for hee-hees and haw-haws.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
Rogan even revisited Jimmy Kimmel's early career, particularly his time hosting The Man Show from 1999 to 2004. The series struggled to leave any real mark, scraping by with an unimpressive 6 out of 10 rating and ultimately fading into obscurity. It was immature, rough around the edges, and largely forgettable. But Rogan didn't just critique the show's lackluster legacy. He went straight for Kimmel's role in it. He called out Kimmel's weak on-screen presence, uninspired hosting, and flat comedic timing. In Rogan's view, Kimmel was never more than a middling comedian who gained relevance not through talent, but by playing the Hollywood system, placating producers, cozying up to elite circles, and selling out whenever it served his interests. The critique was relentless. Rogan painted Kimmel as someone who sacrificed originality for applause, and authenticity for mainstream acceptance.
I'll tell you, he's not the worst. The Daily Show has the worst ratings. They only have 366,000 people watching that show. During the Jon Stewart years, it was over 2 million. Now it's down to 300,000. Seth Meyers, absolutely dreadful. He doesn't even have 1 million, 778,000. I mean, for network television, this is, you don't have to pay for it. It's there when you turn on your TV. You plug it in. That's a dreadful number. Greg Gutfeld on cable, which you do have to pay for, it has more than double the numbers of Seth Meyers. Jimmy Kimmel, 1.5 million averaging, also equally horrible. And then there's The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, who, back when I was there, 2017-18, he was averaging 2.3 million a night. Now he's down to 1.3 million, Jesse. And he cannot afford the "you are toxic" controversy because he's also pulling in, reportedly, over $15 million a year. So you got all that money for 1.5 million in audience, which is a nothing. I mean, the middle of the day on Fox News gets that, or at least used to before the Tucker.
Simply put, Jimmy Kimmel Live is barely hanging on, and it's only a matter of time before the network pulls the plug due to its poor ratings. And honestly, Jimmy Kimmel has no one to blame but himself. He transformed what used to be a fun, light-hearted show into a preachy, politically driven echo chamber. Had he stuck to the kind of comedy that built his audience, avoiding woke politics, biased coverage, and constant pandering to his ideological crowd, his ratings might have looked very different. Viewers didn't show up to be lectured or dragged into partisan debates. They came to laugh, relax, and forget the day's stress. But Kimmel veered off course. He alienated a huge portion of the country, chased validation from elite circles, and pushed away the average Americans who once tuned in faithfully. Now, his sinking numbers prove one thing: politicized comedy doesn't last, and audiences are making that clear with their remotes.
Kimmel's a loser. I do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
And he'd be standing on the sidewalk. Oh, sir, may I bring you in? He'd bring me in every time. Whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He called us doofuses when we had you on.
He's a group of doofuses in flat-brimmed hats.
Guess what? We
Ask
did
him how
5x
many-
what he did.
Ask
5x
him. Yeah, you
views.
do bigger. Yeah, you
Yeah.
do. He shows down.
Jimmy Kimmel's decline stands as a warning to every entertainer who sacrifices authenticity for political clout. Once a staple of late-night television, he's now struggling to stay relevant, relying on overused partisan commentary while pushing away a huge part of his audience. Comedy used to unite people, not divide them with preachy monologues and virtue signaling. On the flip side, voices like Joe Rogan continue to grow, not because they avoid controversy, but because they remain genuine. The message is clear. When entertainers lose sight of their original purpose and become tools for political agendas, audiences stop listening. Kimmel isn't just losing viewers, he's losing credibility. And in the world of entertainment, that's the final blow. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. See you next time.